Well, good morning, church. I want to say a massive welcome to you, whether you are tuning in as a regular watcher or whether you are joining us for the first time. Welcome to Winepress. We've had some incredible guest speakers over the last few months doing our Winter Wonder Plan series, part 1 and part 2. But it's time to welcome back Pastor Arthur, our lead pastor. He has an incredible message to share with us this morning. So why don't you sit back, really listen to what God is saying to you through the message, and I will catch you after the worship song at the end. All right, talk to you soon, guys.
Hi, Winepress. How you doing? It's good to be back with you. As many of you know, Danny and I have had a sabbatical, which basically means that we weren't thinking about the day-to-day running of the church, but we were more thinking about the longer-term future of Winepress and what God was saying to us personally and to us as a church. And it's been an interesting time because, as you know, we wanted to get away and do that. I wanted to go to Cairns where it was a bit warmer. Unfortunately, we were trapped here in Melbourne by 10 hours. 10 hours! And we just couldn't get out. So we've been in lockdown with everybody else here for this whole time. And through this time, God dealt with my spirit of entitlement, like, Lord, it's my right to go to Cairns, to a warm climate, to kind of have this time and all this sort of stuff. And I felt God saying, I told you to do the sabbatical, I didn't tell you where. So I felt God was saying, doesn't matter where you are, Arthur, I'm still there. And he's saying that to you today. It doesn't matter where you're at, God is still there with you. But in fairness, it took me a few weeks to kind of work that one through. I had a lot of kind of resentment towards the decision makers over that. And also against myself, condemnation against myself, because I was just beating myself up about why didn't we go a couple of days earlier. And you know the cycle. You get on that roundabout, these negative thoughts that go through your head. And that's what happened to me. But so it took me a little while to kind of get through that. And I remember about the first week into it, I was journaling, and I just sensed this is going to be a long lockdown. We'll spend this whole sabbatical in lockdown. I was saying this to Danny. You know how you do it. And she's just kind of looking at me, smiling. I love her. It's like, you shouldn't agree with me. Anyway, so I'm kind of going through this process and stuff, and then God really spoke to me in my journal, in which and out of Romans chapter 6, and I want to read you a verse from what I felt he was saying to me at that particular time. It comes from the Passion Translation, and it's really about what master are you going to serve, Arthur? Are you going to serve God, or are you going to serve yourself? Your sinful self. Which master are you going to serve? And Romans 6:16 says this: don't you realize that grace frees you to choose your own master? But choose carefully, for you surrender yourself to become a servant, bound to the one you choose to obey. If you choose to love sin, it will become your master, and it will own you and reward you with death. But if you choose to love and obey God, he will lead you into perfect righteousness. So a question that I felt God was saying to me is, Arthur, what master are you going to serve? Are you going to serve me? Or are you going to serve your own sinful nature? Are you going to serve your own spirit of entitlement, your rights, all those kind of questions? And for me, I had to kind of get on my face. I spent a lot of time on my face repenting of a whole bunch of things. I felt almost like this sabbatical was it was like I was doing regen on my leadership again. It was just so tough at times, but it was so rewarding because it was there in that spirit of repentance that I found God again. And it's a wonderful thing, isn't it? So what master are you choosing to serve? And you've got to be careful what you choose, because if you choose the wrong one, it's going to mess you up. At least that's what this scripture is telling us. In this time, we've all become world record holders. It's a world record that we don't want, isn't it? The amount of days that were spent in lockdown. So many of us. I heard that on the news, and I thought, oh, God, this is just not the one that I want. I don't want this thing. And it plays with your mental health, doesn't it? So many of us have kind of landed, we're just tired. I'm just sick of this thing. I'm just over it. We're frustrated. Some of us are despairing. Some of us are, angry because we feel powerless and we feel the government's demanding things of us and we don't have our choice. And a whole bunch of this angst, if you like, rises up inside us. And unfortunately, that has some negative consequences to it. Just this week in the local newspaper, I was reading about how the city of Casey, this is the article on the front page, the city of Casey is leading the pack in the most horrific way possible. The city of Casey has recorded the highest number of family violence incidents of any local government area in Victoria. The total family incidents rose to 5,487 for the year ending in June 31st. This is up 434 incidents from the year before. It's an 8.6 increase in family violence incidents in the city of Casey, right here where we live. Just to put that in perspective for you, the city of Greater Dandenong has gone up 0.3%, 0.3%. Cardinia has gone 1.8%. We've gone up 8.6%. 8.6%. And this is tragic, isn't it? It's tragic. And more than that, family stalking, it says here, has gone up 32%. 32% that's gone up. It's gone 25 to 34-year-olds are the highest group, where 1,449 women in that group have suffered family violence. Family violence. Family violence order breaches in Casey has risen by 15%. It's like it's gone out of control, isn't it? Why is that? Because, dare I say that people are choosing to serve the wrong master. And when you serve the wrong master, it's going to take you down the wrong kind of pathways. We need to choose the right master, friends. All these figures, and basically, if you take everything that's bad and just add 30% to it, that's about where we're at as a society in Melbourne right now. So, alcoholism, drug abuse, sexual abuse of children, family violence, the whole thing, if you just kind of took it and put 30%, that's kind of where we're at right now. And it's a worrying place where we are at as a society. But it's also a place of opportunity for us to bring hope and good news, folks. To ourselves, firstly, and then to our families, and then to our neighbors and the community around us. God says, arise, shine, for your light has come. And that's an opportunity for us. So as tragic as it is on one hand, because basically on one hand it's saying the world is in a dark place. And we know this, we're in a dark place and it's getting darker. That if you have no hope, you have no hope. If you have no hope, you have no hope. So if you don't focus on the right master, it's going to mess you up. And now we're moving. Tragically, we're moving as a society into an us and them kind of scenario, aren't we, over this vaccination question. And it's just leading to more darkness. And what's the fruit of darkness? It's division and anger and fear and violence. And on it goes. And I don't know if you're like me, but I'm just over it. I'm just over all this. It's like the cure is worse than the disease. And many of us are asking, what's God saying in the midst of this struggle? Well, I think one of the things he's saying, friend, is he's saying choose the right master. Choose what you're going to focus on. Where you're going to put your thoughts on. What's your language going to demonstrate? Is it always going to be complaining? Is it always going to be running down in your language? Or is it actually going to be thanking God? Is it actually going to be lifting people up? Is it actually saying, God, thank you that at least I'm in Australia doing this. I'm not in Myanmar where they have civil war and COVID and all the rest of it, or in Africa where less than 1% have been vaccinated. It's like like there are so many worse places in the world, friends. We need to keep our perspective on the right master. And then, of course, we have our personal battles, don't we? For me, I don't know about you, but for me, my personal battles seem to happen in the middle of the night, about 3 o'clock in the morning. It's just I wake up and it's like these thoughts are just coming at me and just going round and round, and it's like they're tormenting me. And they're generally thoughts that are about something negative that I've done or something, or that I should have done that I haven't done, or whatever like that, or it just goes round and round in my head and I can't sleep. Let me read you an excerpt from one of my journals that I wrote on July 20. Woke up about 2:30. My thoughts about not going again, going nuts. It was like a spiritual attack. The thoughts were always the same. How could I be so dumb not to just go, or go a couple of days earlier? And this just went on and on and on. It's becoming a well-worn record. So I did what I'm learning to do. I rebuked the attack of the enemy. And then I prayed. I prayed for every individual in Winepress by name. And I do this regularly. So if you're part of Winepress here and you're on our church database there, you can know that you're getting prayed for most days by name. I believe that as I do this, I'm redeeming the time, and it's what God wants. This is what I've written. But in the middle of the night, the struggle over my thoughts and emotions is difficult. It's almost overwhelming. However, yea, God, victory came in the end. On another day, I was journaling again, and let me read you what I wrote there. Today I sense God speaking into my nighttime battles as well as just my regular day. And this is what I felt He said to me. Arthur, trust in me. Do not let your mind be troubled, but bring your thoughts captive to me and let your mind be renewed. I am the Lord your God, and I can be trusted, even when you don't understand. I am in control and use all things together for good and for my glory. Lean into me, Arthur. Don't fear. Don't lean into fear and frustration. Choose to do this, for your emotions will try and dictate to you. I need you to learn how to conquer your emotions. You're not a slave to these, but a slave to my righteousness seen through your obedience. Arthur, in trusting in me, you will not miss out on my purposes. Trust in me as I am doing my work in you to prepare you and grow you as my son. Just trust. In other words, I guess what God was saying to me was choose the right master. Folks, in this time of lockdown, God has reinforced a few things for me, and I just want to share these thoughts with you today. The first thing is that He is still God and He is still sovereign. God is still in charge. No matter how crazy the world is going, God is still sovereign. He's in charge. And He uses all things together for good for those who love Him and are called according to His purposes. The second thing is that He's not only sovereign, but we can trust Him. We can trust God. Remember Psalm 121. I lift up my eyes to the hills. From where does my help come from? My help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. He will not let your foot slip. He who watches over you will not slumber. The Lord watches over you. And that's a word for somebody today. You've got to know this. The Lord watches over you. Anxiety is not going to overcome you. Fear can't overcome you. Don't give ground to that. The Lord watches over you. Hold on to that tight. The Lord is your shade at your right hand. The sun will not harm you by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord will keep you from all harm. He will watch over your life. The Lord will watch over your coming and going, both now and forevermore. So friends, we can trust God. The third thing is that it's community that's going to help you get through this stuff. It's faith community that's going to help you get through. So be careful to who you allow to speak into your life. If you're allowing people to speak into your life that are coming from a negative perspective, who are serving the wrong master, they're going to feed the wrong things into you. They're going to feed the wrong things into your spirit. If you're always looking at conspiracy theories and all the rest of it, it's going to feed the wrong things into your spirit. Just think, where does it lead you? That's a good proof of which master you're following. If it's leading you to fear and to rebellion and to violence and to angst and to division, which master do you think that is? Is it God? Is it Jesus? Or is it the enemy? That's a good discernment tool. As Lou Giglio says, be careful who you let sit at your dinner table. Be careful who you let speak into your life, in other words. But it is community. Community is a key God uses to show forth His glory and to bring health to us and to all those people around us. Healthy community. So use the tool of a faith community. Connect with others who have the same foundations. Don't be disconnected. Don't just once in a while kind of tune into church or to a community group or whatever, but make an effort to get connected to people. Make sure you have friends to talk to and connect with, because it's community together that we will come through this. God calls us into relationship with Him and with one another. You're in Isaiah 60. God says to us, His people, in verses 1 through 4, arise, shine, for your light has come. So He says, arise, shine. That's something that we do. We are to arise and we are to shine. And we allow that shining, i.e. God, who is the light, who lives in us, to flow out of us. We choose to do that. We arise and we shine. For your light has come, and the glory of the Lord rises on you. Now, folks, I want to tell you this. God doesn't just say this stuff for the sake of saying it. He's actually given us a key to overcome in dark times. Because see the rest of the verse here. It says in verse 2, see, darkness covers the earth, and thick darkness is over the people. Man, don't you see that today? Don't you see that right now here in Melbourne, in the city of Casey? Darkness is around us. Darkness is all over, thick darkness, family violence going through the roof, all the rest of it. And this despair, this mental anguish in us and around us. We're all being affected by this darkness. But God is saying, arise and shine, Winepress. Arise and shine. But the Lord rises upon you, goes on to say, and His glory appears over you. And I think He's saying here to His people, choose the right master and live out His ways. And the light of Him comes out of us and His glory comes around us. And the darkness can't stand against the light. The light overcomes the darkness. And the people who are in the light will overcome the darkness. And then He goes on to say here in verse 3 and 4, nations will come to your light and kings to the brightness of your dawn. Lift up your eyes and look about you. All assembled come to you. Your sons and your daughters come from afar. In other words, it's saying this is how the gospel goes forward. It's like as we live out our life, as we choose the right master to serve, as we get our eyes in the right place, as we get our minds in the right place, as we get our language in the right place, as we get our community relationships in the right place, then God's going to shine through us, and His manifest presence is going to come around us, and it will draw others to us that we can bring to the light. I mean, that's what we see in the early church, isn't it? In Acts chapter 2, verses 41 through 47. Listen to what it says. Those who accepted His message were baptized, and about 3,000 were added to their number that day. They devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching and to fellowship, to the breaking of bread and to prayer. Everyone was filled with awe at the many wonders and signs performed by the apostles. All the believers were together and had everything in common. They sold property and possessions to give to anyone who had need. Every day they continued to meet together in temple courts. They broke bread in their homes and ate together with glad and sincere hearts. So they're doing all this. God comes into their life, and the natural expression of that life coming into them is all that stuff that I've just read. And it goes on in verse 47, praising God and enjoying the favor of all the people. And then it says this, folks, and the Lord added to their number daily those who were being saved. The Lord added to the number daily those who were being saved. Family, He's telling us here, that when we magnify God through how we live our lives, it becomes a magnet to the manifestational presence of God. And people will be drawn to us. As we magnify God, it becomes a magnet for the miracles of God to happen in our world. And people will be drawn. And the greatest miracle is the miracle of love. And all the other stuff is great as well, but that's the greatest miracle. And through that love, people get born again into the kingdom, and their eternity is set in place. Glory to God. That's the greatest miracle. And isn't that what we want here? He's called us to live in community where He wants us to live out the one another's value in one another. And in doing so, we bring health in a tangible way to individuals, to society, and to ourselves. This is what Jesus has told us to do. Love one another as I have loved you. That is the message of unity, not disunity. Again, where we're focusing our eyes. But it's not easy, is it? It's not easy. And that's why we need God. That's why God comes to us. He comes, and as we humble ourselves, He comes and He moves in our lives. So learn to keep short accounts and give each other grace and so on. The fourth thing that I just want to leave you with is that during this time, look, it's been tough at times. But during this time, I've looked at our world and I've read a whole bunch of stuff. And I keep on saying to God, God, it's like the world's going to hell in a basket. It's like the world's going to hell in a basket. And then one day, clear as day, I felt God say this. Well, get people out of the basket. Get people out of the basket. If the world is going to hell in a basket, get people out of the basket. Get people out of the basket. So that's what I'm going to do. That's what I'm going to do. And I invite you to come do it with me. Let's get people out of the basket. Let's do that by living lives that glorify God. Let's do that by living in community that's a community of unity that is focused towards Jesus, not towards a political agenda. Let's get community happening that shows forth the love of God. And let's get people out of that basket. Because remember, Jesus is the living water, and we need to allow people to drink from the living water. God bless you, church. Just some thoughts for you today. I love you.
Well, how good was that, guys? What an incredible message from Pastor Arthur. It's so good to see him back on our screens and preaching up an absolute storm. And that song, that's just what I needed this morning. But that's all we have time for today. So make sure you like and subscribe to this YouTube channel so you don't miss us and don't miss anything that we post. And if you want to know anything else about Winepress, make sure you head to our website. There you can get involved in community groups. Pastor Arthur was encouraging us to get involved in community, and a community group is a fantastic way to do that. So head to the website and check that out. You can also check out any of the courses that we're running. Regen 2022 is taking applications very soon, so find out more about Regen. You can also give your tithes and offerings online as well. It's an incredible opportunity for us, no matter what's going on, just to make sure we're aligning ourselves with God through our finances. You can also check out all of our missions that we support, both nationally and international, and check out what Kids Min is doing, what young adults, what youth. Check out what the church has been doing while we've been in lockdown. But guys, that's all we have time for. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I hope to see you next week. Take care.